Welcome, 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 everyone. Here we are again, Switch4Good podcast, and we are so stoked to welcome Jane Velez-Mitchell, who is a friend of both Alexandra's and mine. And
I guess if you've watched somebody get arrested, that means you're a friend, and I've watched you get arrested, so we're friends. Except that I thought
I'm left out.
I was we'll be arrested down the road, I'm sure. And you have a twin.
I do.
And it was kind of funny because Alexandra is getting arrested, but she goes in with her twin. So when her twin comes
into
out,
a slaughterhouse.
Into a slaughterhouse to rescue animals, so amazing. And it appears that Alexandra Paul is walking out with handcuffs, and I'm like, we're live as activist Alexandra Paul is arrested and taken out. And then after she goes by, they say, no, that's her sister.
But no one knew. I mean, you just rolled with it, I hope.
I was like, oh, whatevs.
We're all here.
It's always wonderful to see you at all events, including today. So we're really happy.
We are just going to let people who don't know all the cool you've done know a little bit more about you. So I'm just going to read a little quick bio.
Sure.
Some of the nuggets that we pulled out that rose to the top among all of your amazing things that you've done in your life. So for those out there that are listening and want to hear just a little bit more about the wonderful Jane Velez-Mitchell, she is an author. She's an activist, which most of you know, and she's also a former news reporter. And I didn't know this, but she has penned 4 books. I only knew about 1, so I've got some reading to do. 2 of them are New York Times bestsellers. One is called Exposed, The Secret Life of Jodi Arias, and then also iWant, which is my journey from addiction and overconsumption to a simpler, honest life. Thank you very much. She's also worked as a reporter and news anchor for channels such as CNN and Los Angeles KCAL TV, earning both a Los Angeles and a New York Emmy for her reporting. That's big stuff, people. Jane's current project, Jane UnChained, for which today we are also going live on.
Woo!
Yes! is a multi-platform social media news outlet, which you guys must check out. It documents animal rights issues and creates original content supporting a more compassionate plant-based lifestyle. So the truth is Jane tells her story best. So we're going to hand over the mic, and then Alexandra and I are just going to snuggle in and let her do all the talking. We found this quote of yours that is just maybe now one of my favorite quotes of all time. So I'm going to read it because I want to talk about it. And we're going to kind of dive in from that viewpoint, that channel. So the quote is, "We have been brainwashed into craving a diet that is killing us. What we believe tastes good is generally what we have been socially conditioned to enjoy." That could not be more truthful.
Sure.
In every way, shape, and form.
We've all gone to foreign countries where we're told to try some delicacy and we're like, ew. But if you're raised to eat that, that is normal for you. And we've been raised to eat this sad American diet, which is the most restrictive diet in the world, ironically. When people say, oh, you're a vegan, what do you eat? Well, what do you eat? Burger, shakes, fries over and over again? Steak? I mean, think about it. There are tens of thousands of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains. At least tens of thousands. But there's only about 6 animals that we kill and eat. Cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, lambs, right? So not even 6. And 90-some% of all the animals we eat are chickens, by the way. So chickens aren't a vegetable. I've had people come up to me and say, oh yeah, I'm a vegetarian. I only eat chicken. And they're like, hello?
Is you're chicketarian? Then
I'm going to buy you a dictionary. I mean, so actually...
Or they do that with, I only eat fish, too, not understanding that fish they suffer. They suffer, too. So we need to, make sure people understand that these creatures, if you eat them, it doesn't make you a vegetarian.
Absolutely not. And I think one of the big problems with fish is that you can't hear them scream. They're underwater. And so there's a sense that, it's like out of sight, out of mind. And one of my heroes, Anita Krines, says, when you see suffering, you have a moral obligation not to turn away, but to move closer and try to help. And if you can't help, then you bear witness, that there is a power of bearing witness. And she is the founder of the SAVE movement, and she's an organizer. She's a PhD in Toronto who was walking her dog, saw a pig truck headed to slaughter, made eye contact with a pig, and made a vow to that pig and said, I will follow the teachings of Tolstoy, which she was a student of Tolstoy, as it applies to you. I will not walk away. I will get closer. I will bear witness. And she started the SAVE movement not so long ago. She was then arrested for giving water to a pig. She brilliantly put the animal agriculture industry on trial. The charges were thrown out, and now she's a global phenomenon with more than 600 vigils at slaughterhouses around the world. And her goal is to have a vigil at every slaughterhouse in the world. And she inspires me so much because she went to the heart of darkness, the toughest part of our movement, the actual slaughter that people really don't want to look at. They don't. In fact, a friend of mine said when I tried to get her to go to a vigil, I don't want to see a snuff film. Right? So people don't even want to look at it. They don't even want to look at what they are paying people to do. And they run around with, T-shirts that say kindness and ahimsa, and they talk about how they're animal lovers, and we're killing more animals right now than any culture in the history of humankind. In 4 to 12 hours, we kill more animals than all the human beings who have died in all the wars. It's morally
staggering when you really think about it.
Reprehensible. And so I love people like Anita who are just mobilizing and organizing, and I love you too for organizing Switch4Good. It's brilliant, and I think people are switching for good.
I'm actually Dotsie. Just to clarify, Dotsie founded the Switch4Good Foundation. I'm her sidekick on the podcast.
I'm her sidekick on the podcast. That's pretty obvious, but
I want to go to something. You mentioned the deep darkness. And also we talked about cravings. Can we go back in time and talk about you when you were an omnivore and when you were struggling with addictions, like so many people struggle with meat and fast food addictions now? You were struggling with different addictions.
Absolutely.
People don't know that because they look at you now and you are such a fireball of energy and life and love. You really are.
Oh,
when I think of you, I think of this ball of light and energy bouncing around, maybe singing songs. It's true. So talk to us about those days before you became the Jane Velez-Mitchell that we know today.
Oh, well, I grew up in a mostly pescatarian household. My dad was Irish, my mom was Puerto Rican, and she actually had a pet pig when she was little on the island of Vieques where she was raised. And she came home one day when she was very young and the pig had been slaughtered, and she fainted and she became hysterical. And from that moment on, she shunned meat. So when she met my dad, who was a big meat eater, she converted him to, we kind of thought we were vegetarians, but we were pescatarians. We ate fish, we ate eggs, we ate milk. And but there was an awareness that these were animals, and we never personally brought meat into the house. We weren't strict, though. I look back on it, like I would never let anybody bring a dead animal to my house today. But people would come to our cookouts and bring meat, and we never, we didn't. It was, I think, pre the vegan movement. And
more inclusive, which we can learn from.
Maybe
a little bit.
Maybe. Anyway, I became a reporter. I went to NYU and I graduated NYU, and then I was a reporter. And as I became a reporter and went from market to market, Fort Myers, Florida, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, I remember somebody handed me a video, like a cassette of these head injury experiments on monkeys at the University of Pennsylvania. And it's an infamous case. And I remember when I looked at that, I was so horrified. And I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. and that
So
cemented.
what were they testing them for? So people
I
know?
think
They-
automobile
cosmetic?
accidents,
Yes,
wasn't it?
it was the head injury experiments,
Oh.
and they were joking, and they were playing rock music, and they were holding up the limp hand and letting it drop, and I thought, this is sociopathic. This
It
is
was undercover footage of
Yeah.
the researchers just
and research.
playing around in
yeah,
the testing room.
exactly. And I will never forget when I saw that. I was like, this is so morally wrong. I want to do something about it. But I was drinking. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I have 23 years of sobriety, and I was sort of this half-assed vegetarian, sort of, right? Not really, but along the lines of pescatarian. And so then basically I went to New York. I worked there for 8 years as a reporter, weekend anchor in New York. And then I came out to L.A. I was offered a weekday anchor slot next to you may remember the legendary Jerry Dunphy. And I worked at the Paramount Studios for 12 years there. And I was just becoming more and more aware of animal abuse, but very slowly. And then I interviewed Howard Lyman. Howard Lyman was the fourth generation cattle rancher who became very ill. And when he was going into surgery, he made a pact with God. And he said, God, if you get me out of this surgery alive, I will reveal the horrors of the cattle and the meat and dairy industry. He survived. He went on Oprah. He wrote a book called Mad Cowboy, and she famously said, that just stopped me cold from eating another burger. That was the quote that was heard around the world. The Cattlemen's Association sued her. She had to move her show to Texas for a while. She won. He became a cause celebre, and he was doing interviews. So he came in with his publicist, Mar Nealon.
He came, Mar. We all know
Mar. I love
too.
Mar.
I don't know Mar.
And he became vegan. I just want to say, not
Oh,
only did he
yes,
reveal,
yes.
but because he linked his disease with the diet that he had. So he was vegan when you interviewed him.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And Mar has since become a great friend. But I interviewed Howard Lyman. He was revealing all the horrors, how they ripped the babies away from the mothers, the calves away from the moms so we can steal their milk, how unhealthy it is for humans to drink the breast milk of another species.
So he was meat and dairy.
Yeah, he talked about everything.
Just talked about everything.
The cattle industry is inexorably intertwined with dairy. You can't
just didn't
separate
know
the
what
two.
his-
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, these cows, the dairy cows end up going for hamburger.
Sure.
Yeah, if they're male, if the
They're female.
male babies
And many
go
females, too,
if
people
they
don't.
give birth to a male cow, that will go to the beef industry, and then
Yeah.
the older dairy cows that no longer give enough milk then become meat.
Yes, and they replaced their mothers who were sent off to slaughter. Anyway, after I did the interview with him, he comes up to me. He saunters up with his publicist, Mar Nealon, to my desk, and they say, we hear you're a vegetarian. I said, yes. And they said, do you eat dairy? And I kind of hung my head because I had just heard all these horror stories, and I said, yes. And they looked at me, and they pointed right at my eye, and they said, liquid meat. Woof.
Both of them, Mar and Howard. That's
Yeah.
that's quite a powerhouse duo there. Yes.
Whoa. And when they said liquid meat, I went vegan, and I've never had
Just like that day.
just like that. I said, if it's meat, if it's liquid meat, then it's just like meat. It's just as bad as meat. Some people say it's worse than meat.
Yeah.
You know,
The doctors we've had on have told us that dairy is worse for you in terms of your health than meat. And even though a lot of us go vegetarian first, they recommend people give up milk and dairy products first because in terms of the health and the cruelty to animals, it's huge.
And your allergy and your asthma and your constipation and your diarrhea and your stomach cramping and your snotty nose and all of that can be cleared up.
thank
with
you for
dairy.
that, darling.
I mean, people want
No.
that stuff to go away, though.
Listen, yeah, of course we want it to go away. I turn on the TV and I can't even, have dinner want to catch up on the news. Every commercial is for pharmaceuticals with gross side effects. And I was like, is everybody, the whole line that you just recited, it seems like everybody's suffering from that in America.
Yeah.
Like, WTF? Well, we know what it is. It's their diet. It's animal agriculture. It's meat, dairy. So getting back to your point about sobriety, I tell people, okay, you can try gradually. Well, I tried to manage my drinking. I tried to gradually taper down. It doesn't work. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. We stood at the turning point. We had to let go with complete abandon. That's 12-step lingo. I hit bottom. I got sober. And that's what I urge people to do about veganism. Wake up and get rid of the animal products, replace all of them in your refrigerator, and download the Happy Cow. It's not brain surgery. Anybody can go vegan like that. Okay.
Happy Cow, by the way, to all of you who don't know, it comes up in a lot of our shows, but just in case you haven't heard it, it's a terrific app that will show you the nearest vegan or vegetarian or vegan-friendly restaurant or supermarket.
All over the world.
All over the world. I was shooting a film in Bulgaria, and I consulted Happy Cow in Sofia, Bulgaria. They took me to a vegan restaurant. So, yeah.
So it's almost like, what if we were able to prescribe our own happiness, right? And be able to, instead of being socially conditioned, socially manipulated to eat these foods that the industry is promoting and pushing on us as health or as manly, right? There's a whole masculinity, scene that really perpetuates that myth. And really be able to just say, these are the foods that are going to nourish and help me to thrive and help me to love deeper and feel more. And we prescribe that. And then I feel like we'll be able to break that addiction that's imposed on us by society, because a lot of it for some people is outwardly pressed upon us, right? Yes, from inwards too, there's, addictive behaviors, but a lot of it is, whether it's meat or whether it's dairy or whether it's alcohol or whether it's drugs or whether it's sex or an eating disorder, right? A lot of it is coming from what we're seeing and what's coming into us via whatever the channel might be.
We're brainwashed.
Yeah, completely.
I mean, the average person is subjected to thousands of images every day that equate hamburgers, fast food, pharmaceuticals, specifically fast food, with upward mobility, family values, good parenting, sex appeal, all sorts of things that it has nothing to do with. Fun, right. And how many times have you heard of a friend who's an actress saying, oh my God, I got to pay my rent and I'm a vegan, and I'm up for a commercial where I've got to eat. They're hiring vegans to eat animals so they can say that, look, you can look this good and eat these animals. And a lot of these actresses are vegan, and they've got to choose between paying their rent or doing a commercial. Yeah. Several friends have come up to me and said they have that problem. Yes.
Because they're picking the vegans because they look so good.
Because they look so good.
Yeah.
That is warped.
You talked about, addiction. Both Dotsie and I struggled with food addiction. I was bulimic, and at first anorexic, then bulimic, and Dotsie,
Same.
yeah. So we're very interested in the topic of addiction because we see it also with, like you said, meat and milk and just the standard American diet, the SAD diet. Mm-hmm. You've had a lot of experience with addiction, and you did mention it just a few minutes ago, but can we go deeper into that? So tell us about what you were addicted to and how did it start? What?
Well, I am an alcoholic, and once a pickle, never again a cucumber. I guess that's a vegan joke.
I love that. I haven't heard that. Oh my God.
So you're never cured. All we get is a daily reprieve if we work our program of sobriety. And so I grew up, my dad was an alcoholic, a high functioning. He was an advertising executive straight out of Mad Men with an agency on Madison Avenue, smoking the pipes, the whole 9 yards. And but he was a high functioning alcoholic. Those were the 3 martini lunch days. Even though my dad didn't do the 3 martinis, he always drank the 3 martinis after work. But yeah, so I grew up seeing everybody drinking. I didn't realize that people didn't have 3 or 4 martinis every night. It never occurred to me until I got out into the world, and then I was like, what's wrong with these people? They're not drinking. And so it's environmental. It's also genetic. I think on my father's side, there's a lot of alcoholism. On my mother's side, nobody drinks. They never finish a glass. So I guess I have a 50-50 chance. So yeah, so it's that. And then I'm gay, and I think I was drinking down my sexual orientation for quite a while. I didn't really,
Did you become sober before you came out? Or
Yes, I got sober, and it's very interesting, and that's why my book iWant covers 3 things: getting sober, coming out, and going vegan. It covers other things, but those are the 3 things. First, I got sober, and then once I got sober, I had to be honest with myself. As long as I could say, waiter, another glass of Chardonnay, I could stuff my feelings down. But once I got sober, it was really hard for me to pretend that I was heterosexual anymore, which I had done for years. I tried really hard. Sorry, guys.
you got married, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good story you have to tell.
Oh, my wedding? Oh, my God. So my dad was passing away, and he said, if you marry Michael, and Michael and I have remained very good friends, so he'll laugh about this. So all of a sudden, I found myself getting married, and I was filling out the form for the invitation. It said dress code, and we were getting married at a beach club in East Hampton, and I wrote nautical without thinking at all about it. So then people started calling me, Jane, what does that mean? And I said, well, it's a costume wedding. You have to wear a nautical outfit. So people started going to Army Navy stores and buying all sorts of nautical outfits. And then Michael bought an antique Italian naval outfit with tails and big puffy. I mean, it went completely insane. And then I was an hour and a half late, so they opened the bar before I arrived for my own wedding.
Why were you an hour? Were you resisting? Was this a subconscious resistance?
Probably. And it was a great party. We should have just ended it right there. It was quite a party. And then I was in the news business, so we had all these news people like Geraldo Rivera and all these other people who were there. And the guy, the band leader, started making them sort of do tricks, and that was also awkward, but everybody had a good time. It was a night to remember. A lot of alcohol involved.
So you were a functioning alcoholic too, I imagine, because
Yes.
of your success during those years. How did you do it? How did you manage?
Well, I used my dad's formula. I never drank before work. I always drank after work. And I never called in sick. He never called in sick. But there were days where I probably should have called in sick. So I finally hit bottom, and the interesting thing was that I had a number to call for the first time, because I had hit bottom a couple of times. I basically made a fool of myself at a party in Hollywood, a Hollywood party.
That was what, hitting bottom?
Yeah, that was hitting bottom, and it was kind of like everybody I knew was at the party. So it would be the same people who would show up for an intervention, except they were there the night before. And so it was like my ex-husband, my current boyfriend, my then current boyfriend, my agent's husband, my best friends. They were all there. And I could keep it together when I drank wine, but when I drank tequila, all bets were off. So I started teaching everybody how to do snake bites, which is...
I don't know what that is.
Oh, you take a shot of tequila, and then you slice the lime, and you lick somebody's neck, and you pour salt on the neck, then you lick it off, and then you stick the wedge in their mouth, and you suck the juice out, and then you do the shot. And everybody thought this was a lot of fun, except I just blacked out, and I was carried out over the shoulder of my boyfriend. So it turned out my good friend from college, Abbott, who sadly is no longer with us, but great guy, he had recently gotten sober, and he was bugging me to get sober. And I was like, you're not my mother. And then after that...
Did you know you needed to get sober?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you think...
Oh, no.
Okay.
I always knew that I had a drinking problem. But, it's like, first it's fun, then it's fun with problems, then it's just problems. And it was getting to be just problems. Okay. And so I called him, and I said, okay, I surrender. I need help. And I've never had a drink again. And so I had a miracle
So he was
happen.
the person that was the telephone number you had? Was
Yes,
him?
was him.
You didn't go to 12-step right then?
Well, it's an I tried to just talk about getting sober, and I got sober right then. Right, I didn't go to a rehab, though. I will say that.
Got it.
You didn't have any relapses? That was just
Never.
it right then?
Never.
Well, so
Knock on wood, it's
wow,
a day
right,
at a time.
right. So 23 years, though.
Congratulations.
That's to be celebrated.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, cheers.
Cheers to
Yeah,
our
with
water.
our water.
It's massive. I don't know anyone who was able to really just do it overnight, just like you did with veganism when they said liquid meat. What did you experience the next day when you woke up and it was like, okay, there won't be martinis or wine or snake bites after work today? I mean,
Well, what was funny was that we were already scheduled to go on a trip to Puerto Vallarta. And so it was paid for. I went anyway. And everybody around me it was a resort. They were all drinking and doing all sorts of exotic drinks. And we all know what that's like, right? Yeah. So I thought, this is hell. If I can get through this week, everything will be easier. And I was doing all sorts of bizarre things. Like, I've never before gone to the painting. And, at a resort, they'll say you could paint a little dolphin. Or, I was getting henna tattoos. I was putting beads in my hair. I was doing
weaving baskets.
I was
just
weaving.
filling your time to not, yeah.
I said to myself, if I can get through this week not drinking, where I've come to ground zero of partying, then the rest is easy by comparison.
Has that been true?
Well, yeah, I think I had a miracle because I couldn't go a day without drinking. I would say every day, I'm not going to drink. I even had a wine closet. It was always empty because I couldn't keep any wine in there. I would drink the whole thing. And so I couldn't go a day without drinking. And then I had this miraculous shift. And I would say that it was like a miracle. 75% of my cravings were gone, and then I had to reinvent having fun. I thought, I'll never enjoy the sunset because I used to go out and have a glass of wine with the sunset. I'll never enjoy skiing because I used to like to drink Jägermeister after skiing. I'll never go to a party again. Well, now I go to parties and I'm actually having a lot more fun because if I make a fool of myself, I remember it now.
Yeah.
And I do. I still make a fool of myself, but I remember it. And, a very wise woman said to me, Jane, nothing you ever do sober will ever be as embarrassing as what you've already done drunk. So just relax.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good comparison. I hear that all the time with people that are having a hard time or don't want to make the switch away from, certain foods where it sounds like their happiness is completely wrapped up in the substance that goes in their body at certain times a day, just like you did with the sunset, right? Or any other happy experience in your life. And I think that is so true for people where they go, I'm never going to be able to go to a Thanksgiving and eat the turkey. That I'm never going to be able to, enjoy this certain kind of cheese that I just am so addicted to that I want to have again. And they're connecting their entire life's happiness to just a substance, right? Because that's what food is.
It's sort of insulting to the sunset and to our friends and our family to think, I'm not going to have fun anymore because the food's not there or the drink or whatever it is, instead of the people, the experience, the moment. Did you find that you became more in the present when you gave up alcohol because you weren't thinking about maybe when to get, how many drinks you're going to get, or?
Well, I think people use whatever it is, whether it's alcohol, drugs, food, whatever, to numb themselves out so they don't feel. And so a lot of things come up and you have to learn to sit through the feelings. They don't last forever. And so that's when I really realized, I'm lying to myself about my sexual orientation. And then I came out, and that was really fantastic because it's hard to pretend. But I came from an era, I was one of the first newscasters who came out, actually. There weren't a lot before. I'm not saying that to, look at me. Listen, Ellen changed everything for everybody. I remember I was on the bike at Sports Club LA when that sitcom moment where she gets on the microphone and says she's gay, and I remember like, wow, this is something really important happening here.
This was before you came out.
Yeah, way before.
But did you know that you were a lesbian?
Well, I think when you know, but honestly, growing up, it never even occurred to me that was an option. That's I think the society, we're on, it's just like the meat train. Yeah. You're on the meat train, you're on the hetero train. And it's assumed that you're going to be, have a boyfriend. And I did. It's like I said, I gave it the old college try, believe you me.
I'm sure you did. Now, were there other addictions? Because a lot of times, when you give up one, you either start another.
Yes.
Or you have several that you're juggling.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I've, struggled with sugar. I do love sweets, and I think that it's very similar. You?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I don't really frankly, I don't really care about other food except for sugar. But now, after having Chef AJ on the show, I was inspired to go on a whole foods diet, which is gotten rid of sugar, and I still can have fruit, but and it's helped me a ton. But
Wow.
I'm like you, taking it a day at a time, and
Yeah.
I've done it many times, gone off and on. So it's always going to be a struggle. How are
Yeah.
you doing?
Well, I would like to try to find something I can moderate. You know, I imagine those poor women who passed up dessert the last night on the Titanic.
Yeah, right.
You know, I
right.
didn't make that up. That's a,
Yeah.
I don't know, life is a bowl of cherries, lady.
It just
But
came up like 3 days ago for me. Yeah, I love that. It's like, oh, yeah.
yeah, I would
It's like an Irma Bombeck thing
Yeah,
or
I
I
something.
think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Irma
I
Bombeck.
think it is.
Yeah, but I mean, I would like to get to the point where it's not like I'm running around eating huge quantities, but
You're not binging on sugar.
I'm not binging on sugar, no. But I do like my sweets, and maybe a little too much. And let's see if I can moderate it. If I can't moderate it, well, maybe I'll have to go and, you know,
Go cold tofurkey.
go cold tofurkey and not have any sweets. I mean, it's like I've given up drinking. I never really was a drug person, thank God, because it was just, you know, 2 shots of tequila. I might as well have been on ecstasy. You know, it was like I had a real allergy to alcohol, so I didn't really need to go into drugs. I mean, everybody sampled at my age. Let's be real. Let's not pretend that, you know. But
Are you saying that
I was
you
never
got
really-
a really great, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you got a really great high from alcohol because you were allergic to alcohol?
well, it's called an allergy. Like, it's an obsession of the mind and an allergy of the body.
Oh.
There are other people who can drink and they don't have a personality change, and they don't have all sorts of things, or craving that says, you know, one drink is not enough, 1,000, or one drink is too many, 1,000's not enough. So there's plenty of people who drink and they leave 3/4 of their glass.
Yeah.
And that's not me, and that's not any alcoholic. You know, really, it triggers all addictive behavior is you get a craving, okay, then you binge, and then you experience remorse, and then you sort of experience this weird relief when nothing terrible happens, assuming nothing terrible happens, and then that sort of triggers the, okay, I can go out and do it again. And it's just over and over and over again. That's the addictive craving, whether it's alcohol or sugar or whatever. So I think I certainly know when I've eaten too much of something, or I feel like sort of like that hangover that you would experience with alcohol, you experience with something else.
I was like that in the cyclical nature of anorexia. I remember waking up and being like, I'm still here. Ooh, I can restrict more today and see if I'm still here tomorrow. Like exactly that cycle that I've never heard anyone speak about is very relatable to what I went through with anorexia. And you feed off that nothing terrible happened until something terrible does happen, which we get to if we're going to recover.
Yeah.
But
And there's a euphoria when there's no
Big time,
consequences,
big
right?
time.
Oh, and now I
Yeah.
can do it again.
that's what you feed off of.
I'm unleashed. So it's this really terrible. And that's why diets don't work, because diets create stress, and stress triggers cravings. So they've pointed out that diets. So luckily, hopefully, we can make a lifestyle change. And I like the fact that I'm not coming from up here of perfection, that, you know, I've made every mistake in the book. I struggle. I have cravings. I fight my weight. But, you know, I feel so blessed to have the vegan diet as a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that is about food, but it's about a lot more than food. It's about not killing. It's a nonviolent lifestyle. And it's really a litmus test for becoming civilized. You know, we don't have to kill to survive. The whole barbaric, primitive notion that, oh, life's a zero-sum game. It's you or me. Either you die or I die. For me to live, you have to die. That's wrong. It's primitive. It's a primitive mentality. And it's exemplified in the eating of animals. I've got to eat this. Otherwise, how am I going to survive? Well, it's all nonsense. It's just primitive, barbaric thinking. And once we can clear that up and make people understand that that's a really bad notion and it's destroying our planet with climate change, then we can help people make the tradition that the transition to, hey, there's a life, there's a world of abundance. There's plenty of food to go around for everybody. If we didn't kill all these animals who eat almost 40 times what they produce as meat or dairy. So we are living in a world of artificial scarcity created by the production of animal products because it is so inefficient. 80% of the food we eat globally is already plant-based. If we could just take that 20% and reduce it to zero and do it in the next 10 years, we will avert a catastrophic ecological collapse that is going to, it's not going to destroy the planet. The planet will still be here, but the people will be suffering. It's it's in certain areas, it's going to be too hot. World's going to be uninhabitable, literally, in places like Arizona, India, parts of Texas. You won't be able to walk outside at 120 degrees, and that's what we're headed to. And then you're going to see extreme weathers of extreme cold. And people, the media doesn't tie climate change to animal agriculture. And the reason they don't do that, look at the commercials. Meat, dairy, pharmaceuticals, fast food. They know where their money comes from, and they're not going to talk about it. Even the New York Times downplays it and makes light of it because they're very well aware.
They also feel it's too hard. So many people say it's too radical a notion to think that we would get off animal products, right?
Or like Al
It's
Gore
not
said,
realistic.
it's too inconvenient of a truth to bring in animal agriculture into the inconvenient truth. You know, it's too inconvenient for people to, when was asked why wasn't that a part of the film, because people weren't ready to, you know, wrap their arms around that and say, okay, let me, you know,
maybe Al Gore isn't ready.
Yeah,
maybe the problem is
Although
Al Gore.
He's vegan, but
Yeah.
I think he didn't want. I think people are afraid of the pushback. It's weird because it's so much easier for people to choose. I mean, it's so much more in their control to choose a plant-based diet than it is to go out and buy a fancy electric car where they need to get, you know, and I drive electric cars and I'm an electric car advocate, but, you know, you have to get a charger. It costs more. You know, it just is so much. And if you're an apartment renter, it's hard. But choosing 3 times, or if you're like me, 6 times a day what to eat, then that's so much in our control, isn't it? It's so much easier.
It's easy. It's not difficult today. I think, you know, it would have been easy for me to quit drinking at any time, but I couldn't do it because I hadn't hit that bottom. I think there's a couple of ideas that I have that I've sort of been percolating about how to convince people. Somebody said the other day that I thought was fascinating. Most people eat the same 10 dishes over and over again. And within those 10 dishes, there are 3 dishes that are their go-to meals. Maybe we start a campaign where we convince people to give us those 3 meals and then we veganize it for them and show them how easy it is to veganize those 3 meals. That's one idea.
Yeah.
That's a very good idea.
Changing tiny habits. That's what people need, right? You know, one step and then the next.
Yeah, and then replacing what's in their refrigerators. I mean, people say, oh, I can't. Oh, gosh, I'm so used to butter. Well, there's tons of vegan butter that literally nobody could tell the difference.
And it's right next to the other butter, so you don't even have to go to a different store. It's at pretty much every supermarket. Some markets might not have it, but the supermarkets, you know, have the non-dairy butters.
You know what we could do? You know, so Jane has Lunchbreak Live, which I've done a few times with you, and it's a blast. And we cook a plant-based meal. You've probably done it.
Yes, I have.
What if we go, Lunchbreak Live every once in a while goes into people's homes, and we just dissect the refrigerator? Of omnivores or as vegans, I can say, oh, here's my vegan eggs, here's my vegan butter, here's my vegan cheese, and we can educate people that way on your
You can go in
platform.
with replacements right there in our little
I
stash.
love it.
Oh, do you like almond milk or hemp milk? Or you could have oat milk too instead.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And we could wear uniforms like vegan police. And we could
Yes.
raid.
Well, you did do that
We
really
could
funny
raid
video
them.
I saw.
Raid them and handcuff them while we go through their refrigerator. We did it
Let's
as a
be
joke.
nicer and kinder to the people, okay? Let's just take them gradually through the steps.
Some people like being arrested by Jane Velez-Mitchell.
Well, it could be fun.
It could be my first arrest.
It'd be fun.
Ooh.
Well, you know, I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of the fun things that we do on Jane UnChained because one of the reasons I started it was that after 38 years in television and my career wrapped up and it was a great run at 59 and a half, it was perfect timing, right? Wow. I guess when you should kind of go for something else. And so I started going to protests with Donna Dennison, and she's known as that snarky vegan girl. And first thing I noticed was nobody was recording the demonstration or the protests themselves, and nobody was covering it. The news media failed to show up, which they have almost like a blackout on animal rights coverage. And the people in New York at the time I was in New York are cold, so they're just walking by really fast. And I'm like, whoa, what's wrong with this picture? Somebody's got to record all this stuff. So this was before Facebook Live. I started videotaping these stories and then staying up till 4 a.m, editing them. And it was a lot of work. And then...
and where'd you put them? On YouTube?
Well, I created something called Jane UnChained.
Oh, that's when you
When I left the show,
it.
I asked them, and this was all Donna's idea. She goes, grab your social media. I said, okay. And I left on very good terms. I had a nice run. I still went back and did a lot of interviews and stuff on various cases. And I said, would you mind if I took my social media? So they said, sure. So I already had the Facebook, the Twitter, I don't even know if they had Instagram at the time, but whatever. I had some basic social media. And believe it or not, I had never tweeted, ever. I didn't even have the password. So I got the passwords. I started setting it up. And Donna said to me, you're really unchained now. You can do whatever you want. So I said, oh, Jane UnChained. So we called it Jane UnChained. And so we've grown now. We have over 900,000 followers on Facebook. And last year, we had 17.6 million video views of our videos on Facebook, and about 10 million minutes of videos watched. So we're really aiming to hit people who are not vegan yet. I don't even say non-vegan, not vegan yet. And what really helped us was when Facebook Live came along. All of a sudden, instead of having to edit one piece for 3 days, we could go live 7 times. And now we have contributors all over the world. Now, we all read that Tom Sawyer book, and he got other people to paint the fence for him, right? So it's the same idea. I can't be everywhere, so we have contributors in Europe, Latin America, New York. We have a great contributor in New York, Adita. We have one in Portland, Danny Rukin. So we have all these people and a lot of contributors in L.A.
Yeah, if you go to an animal event, you will find a Jane UnChained reporter.
No doubt.
If it's not Jane herself, it's somebody else.
Yeah. So anyway, like that, we have more than 70 contributors now around the world, and it's really great. It's networks have a feed. Let's say if you're a cable network or a national network, and you have affiliates all around the country, they always take stories, the best stories that have national import from each affiliate, and then they put them on their news feed. So the concept was kind of like that, just have a news feed of constant animal rights stuff going through their Facebook news feeds, and then we repurpose it for Instagram and Instagram TV.
And then tell us about the Lunchtime Live.
Oh, so yes, Lunchbreak Live.
Lunchbreak Live, sorry.
Yeah, Lunchbreak Live started, well, there were a couple of ideas behind it. One, I was having a vegan cookout and had some friends, Katie Clary, Simone over, and I wanted to see if the Wi-Fi would work out on the deck. And sure enough, it did. So we went live, and I noticed that people were really, oh, what kind of vegan burger is that? And da-da-da, and there was a lot of curiosity about everything. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. And then my mom did pass away. By the way, 99 and a half she lived to. Oh. So, and on pretty much a vegan diet.
Yeah. She was a ballerina, right?
She was a dancer, like a Latin dancer.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, she had the Anita Velez dance troupe. And so anyway, her friend from Argentina, very proper woman, comes to visit once a year. She's elderly, and she says, we must have lunch properly at the table. And she was very adamant about this, so we started making like lunch, and then we thought, okay, between going live out in the cookout, and then having a formal lunch, let's start videotaping these. And then all of a sudden, it was like Lunchbreak Live, and so we made a commitment to do it every single day. We do it 7 days a week at 12:30 every single day. And we have great contributors. Erin Riley Carrasco every Saturday. She's PETA's sexiest vegan over 50. She and her husband, Alan, do it every Saturday from their kitchen. They have a great kitchen. Sunday is Sandra Solani, the 40-year-old vegan. She has a great book, and she literally just turns the camera on herself and does a great job. And then we have Juice Gurus. They're juicers. They've gotten me juicing, by the way, which has cut my cravings for sugar.
Oh, interesting.
Yes,
okay.
yes. I had a real change once I started juicing. And I don't juice. I did juice today. I can't juice every single day, but I'm trying
because
to juice.
of cleaning the
Well,
machine,
yeah,
or
exactly. It's like,
Because
yeah, I'm
You-
amazed that I
you
was
make it
able
yourself?
Well, I started going to a juice place down the block, and then, they're like $20 by the time you
Yeah.
get a large juice. I thought, I'm going to buy a juicer like Juice Gurus. They provided sort of the inspiration, and I'm actually kind of having fun with it, and
milk the greens.
yeah, milk the greens. So then we have Juice Guru, and we have Elizabeth Alfano, who is awesome vegan. She's
amazing.
great, and she's like a real radio person, TV person, so she does everything super professional. And we have Patrizia Barreto, who's an actress who does. We have Antoinette Westcott, who's an actress. And, you guys have done Lunch
I
Break
did it
Lives.
with
You've been-
Antoinette and
yeah.
with you.
And
Yeah.
Lisa Carlin.
And Lisa
Oh,
Carlin,
gosh, she's
yes.
so good.
Yes,
Dedicated.
absolutely. Dedicated.
So if folks who think, oh, I don't know what to eat that's vegan, they should definitely check out Lunch Break Live on Jane UnChained.
Thank
So,
you.
Every day.
For sure.
12:30,
because
Facebook.com/Jane Velez-Mitchell.
a lot of times the recipes are simple because you're doing it live and they don't go for super long. So some of them are simple recipes.
It can't
that
be the
anybody
3-hour
can
recipe.
do.
I mean, it's got to be short.
Yeah.
In like
Yeah.
15 minutes, we got to
Yeah.
pull it together.
Oh yeah, and it's fun. I've
super
had times
fun.
where people, for whatever reason, have had an emergency. They've canceled at the last minute, and then I cook, and there's like plexiglass exploding behind me, and all sorts of drama.
I'll tell a story. My second time I'm not a cook, right? And you know that. So with Antoinette, I decided, well, I'll make dessert. But I don't really make my own desserts. So I looked up for something easy. It was a chocolate something, whatever it was. So we make it in the blender.
Chocolate mousse.
We make it in the blender. It's some kind of chocolate mousse. I got it off the internet. I had not tasted it before. and then it comes out. We pour it into little bowls, and we eat it. And it is the most disgusting I've ever. And I went, oh, like this. But Antoinette, who's an actress, was flawless. She goes, it's really good. Delicious. Oh my gosh, I don't know what I did wrong, but anyway, I'm sure that in the hands of someone more skilled, it would have been great because the ingredients were chocolate, almond butter, and I mean, you can't go wrong, right?
Yeah,
Except for
right.
iWant.
Yeah. No, we've had some great chefs. We just had this great painter, Jane O'Hara, who's an animal rights painter. She's just brilliant. And she came over and she made something that was so great. I'm just going to tell you because I never thought I could make pastry, right? She gets phyllo dough that you buy. It's already, it's like accidentally vegan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big sheet, right?
Pepperidge Farm
you
actually makes
lay,
it vegan.
yeah, you lay it down. You put Miyoko's cheese, just
Okay.
the entire, like the cream cheese, whatever you want, the chives.
Whatever you like.
Put a little cranberry, like they have little containers of cranberry. Wrap it up like this. Put it in the oven at 350 for 20 minutes. It is the most delicious
Oh my God.
thing.
Wow.
And it comes out looking like it's so pretty. And when she made that, I was like, oh my God, I think I could do that.
Yeah, that seems like I have
Yeah.
Miyoko's smoked farmhouse cheddar at home.
Yeah.
And that would be insane with the cranberry and the phyllo.
There you
Yum,
go.
yum, yum.
So you'll have to look it up when you get home.
Yeah, I think I got it. I think I can do it without
Yeah.
looking it up. I
That-
feel like I can just
Right.
set
You
it
can
at
just do
350
it.
and wrap it
Yeah.
up and off
Just-
we go.
Just don't watch it so it doesn't burn. You want it to be a little crispy brown, but
so
not
like 10 minutes at 350
yeah,
maybe. Not,
20. I think
slightly
it was
longer.
like
Okay.
20 minutes,
Okay.
but watch it because I burn things. And
Right.
I have tremendous, admiration for people who can cook because for me, really organizing coffee and toast, one of them is going to go south.
What's your favorite food that's been made on Lunch Break Live that you actually transfer to your own kitchen and you and Snarky make, let's say, once a week or something?
Wow. There's so many. Here's the thing. Over 3 years doing this, never repeated a recipe. Now, we've done different recipes for like vegan scrambled eggs, but never repeated a recipe. And then people say, what do you eat? It's like so insane. And
I would think vegans eat broader menus than non-vegans on the whole, wouldn't you?
absolutely, there's so much more variety in what we have to eat. But lately I'm into the juicing because I never thought I could juice. I thought it was this giant sort of spaceship contraption, and
Me too.
everybody said it's so hard to clean out. And then when I was watching the Juice Gurus, they said, no, it takes 5 minutes. And they got me a great, I bought it from them, but It was a great style juicer, so it's very easy to assemble. So I'm really happy about the juicing, because seriously, with the sugar cravings, I noticed a total difference. I don't know what it's about. I have no clue.
What do you juice? Do you juice a lot of greens or fruits?
I think it's turning your body alkaline, right? And so the acidity, you're not craving that sugary acidity anymore.
Maybe that's it. You know, they say anytime you have a craving, it's really sometimes, unless it's like psychologically addictive like alcohol or drugs, but it's something inside your body that if it's a food craving, you need that nutrient, and it's just manifesting in a bad way. So
microbiome, Dr. Angie Sadeji would say you're changing your gut microbiome, and so you have less craving the sugar and more microbiome. Bacteria is craving that alkaline juice.
Now, if somebody
Right,
runs
Angie?
into me eating a vegan ice cream cone, don't say, "Oh, I caught you."
No,
Because
we also heard you
Vegan
say
police.
that, you know, about the women going down on the Titanic not ordering dessert. You want to
Yeah.
live life to your fullest. Moderation is what you're seeking.
I'm seeking one thing to be moderate. You know, for people with addictive personalities, the hardest thing is moderation.
Yeah.
Black or white is easier because we're black and white thinkers. So I'm trying, because I like my pastries. I'm
Right.
trying to
Yeah.
moderate it.
Right.
And really, I do see veganism being normalized. Because we're out there every day. On Mondays, we go to a vegan restaurant or a restaurant that has a new vegan option. Like we profiled Carl's Jr. with their Beyond Meat burger.
Yeah.
And it was a hilarious show unintentionally. We all got, because we usually have a couple of contributors who meet up to taste test. And so we were at this Carl's Jr. and then there's a guy down the block with a gun in a motel. So all of a sudden, and we were with Sergeant Vegan, okay?
Oh, yes, Bill
and
Muir. We had interviewed him. Yeah.
Sergeant Vegan's there, and all of a sudden we see this SWAT teams coming in, and they've closed down the Carl's Jr., and there's like, hut, these SWAT teams charging through, and then they bring in like a military-style vehicle to disarm explosives. And so we were just having fun with it, frankly. We were like, and we are monitoring the situation as it unfolds outside the Carl's Jr. while we sample the Beyond Meat burger. And you couldn't have orchestrated something more bizarre and interesting. And anyway, it was a very fun video, and we got a lot of views on it. And we tried to go out, and anytime a big company or a little company does something positive, we want to showcase it. Costco got rid of the Polish sausage and replaced it with the al pastor salad, vegan salad, $4.99, an incredible deal, very tasty, and the acai bowl, 2 vegan items. So we went and we profiled that. When IKEA brought in a veggie dog to go along with their Swedish vegan meatballs, we went and profiled that. So we are trying to show people, because people are herd animals. Once it flips, and it is flipping, but once it flips, veganism will be normalized, and then people will just eat veganism. They'll eat vegan, and they won't think of it as vegan. It's just food. So yesterday we went to a restaurant called La Cali, which is not vegan, but it's mostly vegan. Doesn't say it's vegan, but a lot of restaurants are doing this now. They're not vegan restaurants. They're just restaurants. And then you look at the menu, most everything is vegan. I've had this experience
Just normalizing it, like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah, without having
Exactly.
to trumpet it. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, soon, hopefully, we'll be moving to, well, we're already moving like the Impossible Burger and Beyond Burgers and things like that, or having meats that, cruelty-free meats. And then we'll maybe go into the lab and get meats that are made without any cruelty from you know, I don't know how I feel about the cells and things like that. I probably wouldn't eat them, but you know, so
Doesn't really
For
help with the
cats,
health aspect.
Cats, you know.
What do you mean for
Cats
Oh,
are
for what they're gonna
obligate
eat.
carnivores.
Oh,
Right,
yeah,
right,
for
right.
I
cats.
think
Yeah, that's right.
anything that can reduce suffering, I'm for it. And I'm totally for, you know, I don't know all the details, but I'm totally for clean meat. When you see these animals going into the slaughterhouse, it is gut-wrenching. It is gut-wrenching to make eye contact with a pig and know that pig is going to be killed within minutes.
Can you tell me about your first time? The first time that you, because I remember my first time, and if for whatever reason
At the pig vigil?
Yeah, or just any vigil could be, but like what, you know, for people that, you know, are listening to this that are, you know, they're not vegan, they're kind of like, well, who goes to this, as the animals are heading to slaughter? Like, what is that? Why? What are you doing? what was your first time like? What was your experience? What do you mean when you look into the eye of a pig? That's gut-wrenching. Why? What are they doing? What's happening?
Pigs have the emotional and intellectual development of toddler children, human children. They are super smart. Yeah. You know, they watch videos. They are highly intelligent, highly social animals, and they're babies. They go into their deaths. You know, what we're trying to do is fatten these animals up in very confined quarters, because what happens when you move around, you know, as an athlete, you burn calories. They don't want these animals to burn any calories. They keep them tightly confined so they can't move around. They fatten them up and they kill them real young. So they rip them away from their mothers. These animals have known only misery. And then when they're 6 months old, they're shipped for up to 36 hours without food or water across state lines, often, to be slaughtered. And you look at this and you say, something is wrong with humanity. That people who have the audacity to say they're animal lovers are then eating bacon and ham and sausage, and our social compact is a sick one, and we're breaking it. And it's, that suffering doesn't count. You could call yourself a good person. I saw a lady yesterday walking down. She had a big bag, said kind. And I said, so you're vegan. She just looked at me and kept walking. You know,
and they wouldn't allow those things to be done to their cats and their dogs.
They'd
so
be
there's
horrified.
A real speciesism in there.
So, you know, it's so morally wrong when you see it with your own eyes and you smell it and you experience it. Not to mention, they're saying, ooh, bacon, and there's all these commercials, bacon, bacon. These animals are in their own feces. They're sometimes foaming at the mouth. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's grotesque. It's the opposite of appetizing. It's nauseating. And so what happens is that there's a social compact that says that suffering doesn't count. Okay, that's the sick social contract that we have to break. So I was talking to a neighbor when we all heard about the polar vortex. We're here in California, but there was a polar vortex, East Coast, Canada.
Yeah,
these
Minnesota.
Poor animals were showing up with frostbite and hypothermia. They're being driven to their slaughter in open-air trucks in minus 45 with the windshield, or minus 50, or
There's
minus
no law
100.
surrounding their transport.
There's no law.
Temperature.
There's only one.
Temperature.
There's only one law for tell me if I'm wrong, and that's that every 28 hours they have to have a stop for water and food. I think that's the only law that covers pigs.
But they always make it in under
cows
that time, so
in
they probably don't have
transport,
to do
and
that.
chickens.
I don't.
Yeah.
I
No, but
honestly
they-
don't know, because there's different jurisdictions, and you could even talk about Canada, United States. I know that they travel for long distances across state lines without water, and they are so thirsty when they arrive at the slaughterhouse, because people are there giving them water.
That's what we've experienced at the
And so it's
LA
morally wrong.
slaughterhouse.
So anyway, during the polar vortex, here I'm in California, and I ran into a neighbor, and has a dog, otherwise very, very nice, friendly person, like her. She said, I feel so sorry for the people during this polar vortex. And I said, imagine the animals in the slaughterhouses. Imagine the animals in the slaughterhouse trucks being driven through the polar vortex in sub-zero weather in open-air trucks. And it's always the same reaction. Just stare, like abrupt, and then
Knock me out of that.
bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye. You just broke the social contract. You just talked about.
Yes, but if you say that, the more they hear that, it will chip away, because marketers say you need to hear a message 7 times before you can even open up to it.
Yes.
So good on you for bringing it up. And I think,
Yeah.
I don't think she'll forget what you said, because it probably was something she'd never thought about ever in her life. And now you opened her mind a little.
In times of great horror, whether it's during the time of slavery, during the time of Nazi Germany, the statistics, most people say to themselves, I would have done something. I would have done something. But the statistics show that 99% of the people did nothing. And it was only a very small percentage of people who did anything. For example, the people who ran the Underground Railroad, that they took risks. They risked, even in the North, they risked total devastation and even arrest. There was time when it was illegal, even in the North. And so you would like to think of yourself as a person who would do the right thing, but the truth is that most people don't. And then when society flips, then they'll join in condemning something. And we will look back at this time with absolute horror at what we have done to these animals. And it's really about, somehow waking people up. Some people are environmentalists. We have to wake them up to the fact that you can't call yourself an environmentalist if you're eating animals. Animal agriculture is a leading cause of climate change. And I get aggro when I'm listening to progressive cable news talk about climate change and beat their chests about how they're on the right side of history. And then they joke about eating chicken wings, and they joke about turkeys and Thanksgiving, and they're completely cut off. And in fact, we did a video on Jane UnChained. Look, I watch Rachel Maddow all the time, several times a week. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant person. But during Thanksgiving, the year before, not this Thanksgiving, the year before, she said, we had a turkey that was so big, we couldn't fit it in the oven. We had to put it out on the grill. And necessity is the mother of invention. It was so good, we're going to do that every year. So what we did is we recorded a video, and we said very respectfully, we admire you, we watch you, but we were very disappointed when you did that, and explained why. And we had several people commenting, and it got 160-some thousand views. And I hope that she saw it, and I hope that it would wake her up.
She mentioned something about turkey this year, this past year.
Well, she was off during Thanksgiving. I think it was the year before, but I know that I watched when she came back from the Thanksgiving vacation to see if she would mention it. But somebody else who filled in mentioned it. Ali Velci was like, and you eat your turkey. It's like, hey guys, I like all of them. They're wonderful people. They're smart. But if somebody is smart enough to master the intricacies of the Russia investigation, they've got to be smart enough to connect the fact that meat eating is a leading cause of climate change, habitat destruction, wildlife extinction, human world hunger, and human disease.
And yes, and cruelty.
And horrific cruelty.
Yeah. Some good news on the environmental sphere. This year is 49th anniversary of Earth Day. So next year, 2020, is the 50th anniversary. And the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, for the first time ever in their 50 years, is going to be incorporating the power of a plant-based diet.
Oh,
so
great.
We have something to look forward to there.
That's good. That's good news.
Finally, they took the blinders off and said this has to be a part of what we just took 50 years.
Look,
but
I'll say one other thing, because we do just, look, we are a nonviolent movement. I think you know that better than anyone. But that doesn't mean we don't confront. Okay, women didn't get the right to vote by asking oh so very politely. Right. Susan B. Anthony and her crew actually went and voted illegally years before they got the right to vote. And they were arrested. So to your bravery in that regard. But I was reading the paper, not the paper, I was online looking at the New York Times a year or so ago, and they were having a climate change conference at Paramount Studios where I used to work. So I thought, bingo, I know where that is. Boom, boom, let's get some friends. I bought tickets. Ken Spector from Happy Cow went. Lisa Carlin went. We had 5 or 6 people. We filtered through spread out across the audience. They talked for an hour, never mentioned animal agriculture's devastating impact on climate change.
The leading source of methane and carbon dioxide gases.
Yeah. And so then we started like eager school children raising our hand to ask questions, and we confronted them. Now, interestingly enough, Mark Ruffalo, who was one of the people in the panel, was the only one that was like, well, I want to hear what you have to say. Thank you. The other ones were obviously annoyed that we had just sort of disrupted with the truth by asking questions. Why aren't you talking about this? Yeah. You're the New York Times, for gosh sakes. Yeah. And there was all sorts of awkwardness, but he said, thank you. I'm interested. I want to hear this. And he started talking about cattle grazing. I was like, no. He says, you're shaking your head no. I was like, yes, I'm shaking my head no. That's not the answer of free-range cattle. Yeah. And I believe he's really educated himself on this front. And I don't know if he's vegan, but I've read that he's really, maybe he is vegan. I don't know. He had an open mind. Thank God, right? And I applauded him for his reaction. Then, guess what? After the conference, they were serving pork and chicken at their little benefit afterwards. And we went live on Jane UnChained. Then they told us to shut down the camera. And we basically were told to leave. But that's what we have to do. That's not violent. That's non-violent peaceful
Uprising.
confrontation.
Yeah.
It is hard for people to hear the truth, but thank goodness we have someone like you who is spreading the truth. Seriously, thank you. Across the world. And it's been really an honor to have you on our show
fabulous.
today, Jane.
Thanks for being the subject matter. Because
I
you don't
like it.
often get to do that, right? You're highlighting everything we've been talking about on this show and not you. And you are very special and very interesting. And we love you.
Well, I love you guys right back. You give me hope. And I love Switch4Good. It's a terrific concept. And now with the vegan cheeses that are so delicious.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a condo association meeting, and of course I always use any opportunity like that to spread. I put a whole spread of Miyokos and Tree Line. I like to mix them up and give them all love. They're all my friends, so I spread them all out, and every last drop was eaten.
Of course.
Good work.
Yeah,
Of course, they're
good work.
delicious.
Yeah, changing people's hearts and minds through food.
Yeah,
Thank you.
through their
Thanks
tummies.
so much.
Mwah.
And through
Thanks for
social
coming.
media, may
Yes.
I add. But in that instance, it was through food. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. If we helped you in any way, then click the subscribe button and let's keep hanging out together. We have so much more to share with you.
And if you need more information on actually making the switch for good, please visit us at switch4good.org for loads of info. And you can subscribe to our mailing list where you will receive all sorts of super cool gifts, discount codes to our very fave dairy-free products, and a lifetime of powerful health tips.
So join us on the journey to Switch for Good. This is the future.